अरिहंत सिद्ध सुर उपाध्याय साधु सर्व अर्थ के प्रकाशी मांगलिक उपकारी है। तीन को स्वरूप जानी रागते बही जो भक्ति काय को नमाए स्तुति को उच्चारी है। धन्य धन्य तुम्हें से काज सब आज भयो कर जोरी बारंबार वंदना हमारी है। मंगल कल्याण सुख ऐसो हम चाहते हो मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। हो मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। So we will continue our discussion on Samaysar summary, and last week we completed Karta Karma Adhikar, doer and did chapter. So today we will start with Punya Pap, merits and demerits. Section on auspicious, inauspicious disposition. Okay, that's from where we will start today. And Darshit ji, you read.
Okay, Jaiji Nanda to everyone. Section on auspicious, inauspicious dispositions, Punya Pap Adhikar. In this section, it is established that karma alone is a cause of bondage. By demonstrating that both auspicious and inauspicious karma are causes of bondage, and thus to be renounced, it is emphasized that only passion-free, pure disposition, Sud Parinam, is worthy of adoption. An ignorant soul considers the auspicious as virtuous and the inauspicious as bad. But this belief is not correct because in terms of bondage, both types of karma are the same. Just as both golden and iron shackles bind. Similarly, as both auspicious and inauspicious karma are equal in terms of bondage, they are to be renounced. They are the cause of suffering and of worldly existence. The root cause of karmic bondage is attachment. It is due to attachment that auspicious and inauspicious karmas lead to bondage. Therefore, one should abandon attachment along with karmas.
Stop.
Thus,
Stop. So let's see. In this section, it is established that karma alone is the cause of bondage. Okay. So which karma we are talking about? Bhav karma, right? Bhav karma. Psychic karma. Psychic karma is the cause of bondage. That is attachments, aversions, along with delusion. These are all the cause of bondage. Okay. By demonstrating that both auspicious and inauspicious karma are causes of bondage and thus to be renounced, it is emphasized that only passion-free pure disposition is worthy of adoption. Okay. So passion-free pure disposition, Shuddha Parinam, is only worth manifesting. Rest auspicious or inauspicious sentiments are cause of bondage. So they are worth renouncing. Okay. An ignorant soul consider the auspicious as good and inauspicious as bad, but this belief is not correct because in terms of bondage, both types of karma are the same. If you are doing auspicious also, there is a karmic bondage, and inauspicious also is the karmic bondage. Just as both golden and iron shackles bind. Okay. So maybe if you are put in a cage of golden or iron, after all, it is jail. So we cannot say that golden jail is better than the iron jail. No. Because both are cause of our bondage. So how it can be better? Similarly, both auspicious and inauspicious are karma in equal terms of bondage. They are to be renounced. They are the cause of suffering and of worldly existence. Now, I want to highlight this line. You have to pay attention. The root cause of karmic bondage is attachment. Do you all agree? If yes, then say the logic. If
Yes,
no,
sir.
Yes.
Yeah, what is the logic,
So
Jinali?
because attachments they create hinsa,
Okay, okay,
hinsa bhav. मतलब the
okay,
biggest, हाँ.
okay. Anyone else? Darshit ji.
So the attachments
Hmm.
create either good or bad feelings.
Hmm.
So inauspicious or auspicious feelings, and that is the reason for getting stuck in sansar.
Okay. Subha.
We will be longing for anything. We'll be longing for that one, to attain that one. We'll work either in a good way or in a bad way to get that one. So it is not good.
So
No,
it
no.
brings in
I'm
desires.
just repeating. I'm just repeating. The root cause of karmic bondage is attachment. True or false?
2G.
True.
True.
For everyone, true. But no. Here, the root cause of karmic bondage is delusion. Supposing a right believer at the fourth stage, right? So at the fourth stage, he is a right believer, so he doesn't have delusion, but still he has attachment, right? So how can we say that the root cause of karmic bondage is attachment? Because right believers also have attachment, right? And monks also have attachment. Monks at the sixth, seventh stage, they have still Sanjalan Kashai left. So they too have attachment. So that is not the cause. The root cause of karmic bondage is attachment here means that these attachment includes delusion.
Yeah,
There are 5 causes of bondage which studied in Tattva Sutra. Mithyatva,
Mukti, Samiti.
Mithyatva, Avirati, Pramad, Kashai, Yog. So Mithyatva is delusion. Avirati, non-restraint.
Influx.
Then Pramad, negligence. Kashai, passions. And then Yog. Okay, mind, speech and body activity. So these are the 5 causes of karmic bondage. So which is the first one?
Mithyatva.
Mithyatva. So first Mithyatva has to go, no? Passions goes up to 10th stage. Right? But Mithyatva goes away at the 4th stage, and that is the beginning of the path of liberation. So here it is written attachment. Here attachment means that along with delusion, attachment. Not without delusion. Okay? Here the root cause of karmic bondage is attachment. Here you have to understand in this way that it is delusion with attachment. Then it is the root cause. But if the delusion is not there and attachment is there, then it is not the root cause of karmic bondage. Okay? Right? Because when you manifest right belief, only one drop in an ocean, that much bondage is left. Along with delusion, the Anantanubandhi Kashai has gone. And Anantanubandhi Kashai has gone. The rest of the 3 Kashai is just one drop in an ocean. So minimal bondage. And that is not considered in faith related statements, you know. So this has to be understood very clearly. Todarmalji also wrote in this manner. And at that time also I clarified that no, this is not the root cause. The root cause is delusion. We miss the delusion. Here attachment means delusion along with attachment. Okay. So that must be understood. Otherwise, we keep on saying the root cause of karmic bondage is attachment, attachment, attachment. Right? But which attachment? Anantanubandhi is not there, then the rest of the attachment doesn't have weightage. No weightage. Okay? One drop in an ocean has no weightage. That's the power of delusion. That's the power of right belief. That once you manifest right belief, even if the attachment is there, we are not worried because the bondage is very minimal. It is not considered at all. And that's why we say that the enlightened one is influx free and even the enlightened one engages in sensual pleasure, then also it is a cause of stoppage and dissociation, right? All these statements are coming from this, that they want to highlight the the glory of right belief. That once you manifest right belief, the bondage is very little. It's not counted at all. Okay. So our main priority would be to get rid of delusion in the first place. Once we get rid of delusion, this attachment will go on its own. It has got no weightage. Okay. In Hindi, they call it as Badi Sindri Vat. So Sindri is a rope made of coconut, rope made of coconut. So once it is burnt, it has got no strength. Although it is in the shape of a rope, but it has got no strength to bind anything, right? Similarly, once the delusion has gone, the rest of the attachment has no strength. Okay. So this is to be understood. It is due to the attachment.
So, I need to ask you something. So, once the delusion is gone, that is,
Yes,
you get Samyak Darshan.
right.
But then, still, if you are in Samyak Darshan, so at many times you are in delusion also. I mean, you have both the things.
No. Delusion and right belief cannot coexist.
I
Either
understand, sir.
one
But
of them
then,
will be
see,
there. Right.
yeah, one of them will be there, but not, like Samyak Darshan will not be in for 24 hours, sir.
No, it will be 24 hours because it is a belief. And Samyak Darshan doesn't mean that you are engrossed in yourself. Then you will, even if you remain engrossed for 48 minutes, you manifest omniscience knowledge. So Samyak Drashti doesn't get engrossed. Samyak Drashti at the fourth stage involves in sensual pleasures, go to do business, gets married. All this is possible at the fourth stage, even at fifth stage also. Okay. So that doesn't mean that once you become a right believer, you have renounced all sins. No.
Okay.
In the life of a right believer, there are sins, but those sins are of not that quality as it was with delusion. Okay. And the bondage is very less. So it is not counted when we talk from the belief system. Okay. From the belief system, we say that no, once the delusion has gone, everything is gone. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
it has to be understood in the right manner. Lot of clarity is required about right belief. I did a in happiness course. The 8th chapter is about that only. Right belief from 4 exposition. There I have clarified in detail, and again it will be coming up in English maybe 2 months down the line. So you have to understood it very clearly. Okay. It is due to the attachment that auspicious and inauspicious karmas lead to bondage. Therefore, one should abandon attachment along with karmas. So everywhere, wherever it is written as attachment, you have to believe that delusion along with attachment. Okay. Without delusion, attachment has got no strength. Okay. So that should be understood. Continue. Darshit.
Thus, realizing that both auspicious and inauspicious dispositions are causes of bondage, one who renounces attachment to them and with detachment remains firmly established in the soul, endowed with knowledge, in the ultimate reality, attains liberation very soon. The vows, austerities, etc., Rat Tapadi, of a being established in the ultimate reality are meaningful. However, the vows, austerities, etc., of being not established in the ultimate reality are termed childish vows, Balvarat, and childish austerities, Balta. Through these, one may attain worldly pleasures like heavenly realms, but not liberation. An ignorant being, failing to understand the true cause of liberation, mistakenly considers the auspicious dispositions that lead to continued worldly existence as a means to liberation, and engages in them, the result of which is endless wandering in worldly existence, not liberation. In reality, right belief is the reverence of Jiv and other fundamental elements. Right knowledge is the true understanding of these substances, and right conduct is a renunciation of attachment and other passions. This alone is the path to liberation. Only those ascetics who are established in the real path to liberation progress towards destruction of karmas. Those who abandon this real path and remain engaged solely in the conventional path cannot attain liberation. Just as the white color of a cloth is hidden when covered with dirt, in the same way, right belief is hidden when covered by the impurity in the form of wrong belief. Knowledge is hidden when covered by the impurity in the form of ignorance, and conduct is hidden when covered by the impurity in the form of passions. In this way, even though the soul possesses the nature of omniscience, sarvagna, and omniperception, sarvadarshi, it remains affected by the fruition of karma and therefore does not perceive and know everything in all respects. The opposing dispositions to the causes of liberation, right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct, are wrong belief, wrong knowledge, and wrong conduct. These obstruct the qualities of right belief, knowledge, conduct. Due to their presence, the soul sequentially becomes a wrong believer, ignorant, and lacks proper conduct. In this way, this section explains that the auspicious and inauspicious karmas, which are the causes of worldly existence, are to be discarded, while the three jewels, which are the causes of liberation, are to be accepted.
Yeah, stop. So you see that realizing both the auspicious and inauspicious disposition as cause of bondage, one who renounces attachment to them, okay, and with detachment remains firmly established in the soul, endowed with knowledge in the ultimate reality, attains liberation very soon. Okay. So wherever attachment is there, when it is being said the root cause of karmic bondage, you have to understand that it is along with delusion. Okay. And the one who uh, gets rid of delusion and then gets immersed in the pure soul, he attains liberation very soon, because that is the only way to get liberated. First, you have to identify yourself, and once identified, then the next step would be to get immersed in that, okay, to get engrossed in that, to get focused in that. And that happens, then the purity keeps on increasing, and ultimately you attain liberation. The vows, austerities, etc. of a being established in the ultimate reality are meaningful. So once the vows and austerities are there with right belief, then they are meaningful. If they are without right belief, then it is called childish vows, childish austerities. So through this, one may attain worldly pleasures, but not the real happiness. And failing to understand the true cause of liberation, mistakenly considers the auspicious disposition that lead to continued worldly existence as the means to liberation, and engages in them, the result of which is endless wandering in worldly existence, not liberation. In reality, right belief is the reverence of jiva and other fundamental elements. Right knowledge is the true understanding of these substances, and right conduct is the renunciation of attachment and other passion. So right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct is the path to liberation. Only those ascetics who are established in the real path to liberation progresses towards destruction of karmas. Those who abandon this real path and remain engaged solely in the conventional path cannot attain liberation. Just as the white color of a cloth is hidden when covered with dirt, In the same way, right belief is hidden when covered by the impurity in the form of wrong belief. Knowledge is hidden when covered by the impurity in the form of ignorance. And conduct is hidden when covered by the impurity in the form of passions. In this way, even though the soul possesses the nature of omniscience, nature, not the omniscience as a modification, but nature. We all by default have this nature of omniscience and omni-perception in us. Okay. Each and every soul possesses the nature of omniscience and omni-perception in itself. It remains affected by the fruition of karma and therefore does not perceive and know everything in all respects. Okay. The opposing disposition of to the causes of liberation, that is right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct, are wrong belief, wrong knowledge, and wrong conduct. These obstructs the quality of right belief, knowledge, and conduct. Due to their presence, the soul sequentially becomes a wrong believer, ignorant, and lacks proper conduct. In this way, this section explains that the auspicious and inauspicious karma, which are the causes of worldly existence, are to be discarded, while the three jewels, which are the causes of liberation, are to be accepted. Okay. So now the next one, influx section. Okay. So before influx, auspicious, inauspicious, punya and pap was taken just because from time immemorial, the soul has the tendency to believe that with auspicious sentiments, he is manifesting religion. But no, auspicious is also a cause of bondage. So how it could be a cause of religion? Okay. So to clarify that, this Punya Pap chapter was introduced by Acharya Kunkunadev also and Amrit Chandra Dev also. Now we move on to the next influx section, Asrav. Here it will say that the first important is wrong belief, then non-restraint, then negligence, and then passions. Okay. These are the 5 causes of bondage as per Tattvat Sutra. In Samaysar, they have given 4 causes. They have omitted negligence and they have included negligence in the passion segment. Okay. So here the cause of bondage, cause of influx would be only 4 things: wrong belief, non-restraint, passions, and activities of mind, body, and speech. Negligence is included in the passions because out of the 15 divisions of negligence, 4 are major passions. Okay. And 4 are vikatha. Vikatha means unnecessary talks, that is also a form of passion. So negligence is included in the passion. So Subha, you read now.
Influx section, Asrava Adhikar. This section, while describing the cause of bondage in the form of influx, establishes the non-binding nature of the enlightened one. Influx is of 4 types: wrong belief, non-restraint, passions, and activities of mind, body, speech. These influxes are of 2 types: sentient and non-sentient. The various types of sentient influxes arise only in Jeev and are their exclusive disposition. The attachment, etc., created by the soul themselves are the cause of new karmic bondage. However, dispositions devoid of attachments, etc., are not binding. They are merely knower. Just as a ripened fruit that falls from a tree does not reattach to the branch, in the same way, once the karmic disposition of the soul dissociate, they do not reattach to the soul. Due to absence of attachment, etc., based influx in right believer, The bondage that occurs through influx does not take place. A right believer does not bind new karmas, rather, it merely knows the previously bound karmas that exist in its state. The previous influx of material karma are bound only with the karmic body and are as a result as a and are as a resultant as a lump of clay. Hence, material influx is always distinct from the soul's intrinsic nature. Due to the absence of cyclic influx in an enlightened being, such a being is referred to as free from influx, nir asrava. Explaining how an enlightened being remains free from influx, the Acharya states that the four types of material influx bind various kinds of karma to the attributes of knowledge and perception. Hence, an enlightened being is free from bondage. How do the modifications of the attribute of knowledge becomes a cause of bondage? Explaining this, the Acharya states that as long as the soul's attribute of knowledge remains in its underdeveloped state, till then it keeps shifting from pure serene experience to conscious thought within every 48 minutes. Hence, during this time, it also becomes the doer of new karmic bondage. This is why, while transforming within underdeveloped states of perception, knowledge, conduct, an enlightened being also binds with material karma.
Stop. So you see the influx is of four types. Okay. Wrong belief, mithyatva. Then non-restraint is avirati. Then passions and activities of mind, body and speech. So mithyatva, avirati, kashai and yog. Yog means activity of mind, body and speech. These influxes are of two types, one at the soul level, another at the non-soul level. So one would be psychic influx, another would be material influx. Okay. So we all have studied this in the 7 fundamentals. So the attachments, etc., created by the soul themselves are the cause of new karmic bondage. Okay. So here it does not clarify that they are talking about a right believer or a wrong believer, but it is presumed that it is with wrong belief. Okay. That's why attachment is a cause of new karmic bondage. However, disposition devoid of attachments are not binding. Okay. So this is the case of Aryant Bhagwan. Okay. In the 13th stage of spiritual development, Aryant Bhagwan do have rise of karmas. Okay. Do have rise of influx. But since the passion is not there, so it does not become a cause of bondage. Okay. So wherever it is mentioned that attachments are without attachment, there is no bondage, then we should mean either that we are talking of only Anantanubandhi Kasha is not there, but the rest are there. But the effect of the rest is so minuscule that it is not counted. So that's why it says that enlightened souls do not bind karmas. So what is the perspective here? That the perspective that is being explained here is that the enlightened soul has got rid of delusion, and along with delusion, the first quadruplet of passion, Anantanubandhi Kashai, passions causing infinitely bondage, has gone. Now, whatever the passions, whatever the attachments are there, whatever the passions are there, they are not that powerful. Okay. They are very minuscule in nature compared to the Anandanubandhi Kashai. Okay. So right now we are talking in Samais, we are discussing Samaisar. So in Samsara, which is predominantly belief-based scripture, okay? So when the belief is considered as primary, okay, at that point of time, if the Anantanubandhi Kashai has gone, then the rest of the Kashai has no weightage, okay? The strength has gone. And if the Anantanubandhi is there, then the passions are very powerful. The attachments, etc., created by the soul themselves are the cause of new karmic bondage. However, disposition devoid of attachments, etc., are not binding. They are merely knower. Just as a ripened fruit that falls from a tree does not reattach to the branch. In the same way, once the karmic disposition of the soul dissociate, it gives fruit and dissociate. They do not reattach to the soul. Due to the absence of attachment, etc., based psychic influx. You write down word psychic, okay? Psychic influx in a right believer. The bondage that occurs through influx does not take place. See, now they are talking about a right believer, and they say that due to the absence of attachment, etc., based psychic influx in a right believer, the bondage that occurs through influx does not take place. So actually, the fact is that the bondage do take place, okay, through influx, but that bondage is of so minuscule nature that it is ignored and says that right believer does not have influx or bondage, okay. This you should understand. Anantanubandhi Kashai gone means, like, you have 1 lakh rupees to pay to somebody, out of which 90,000 has gone, okay, only 10 are left. So 9 is removed. Supposing you have debt of 99,999, okay. Now 9 is removed from the front. So how much is left now? 9,999. That means only 10% is left, okay. So similarly here, when you get rid of delusion, the Anantanubandhi, the first quadruplet of passion goes away, and with that, the rest of the passion has got no weightage, okay. The previous influx of material karma are bound only with the karmic body, okay, and are as resultant as a lump of clay, okay. So the previous influx of material karma are bound only with the karmic body. They are not attached to the soul, okay. Hence, material influx, dravya asrav, is always distinct from the soul's intrinsic nature, okay. Due to the absence of psychic influx in an enlightened being, okay, such a being is referred to as free from influx. Now, what is the perspective here? Due to the absence of psychic influx, bhavasrav, in an enlightened being. Now, they have not clarified enlightened being at which stage. It could be 4th, it could be 5th, it could be 6, 7, it could be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It could be anything, right? But from 4 to 14, it would be. So, such a being is referred to as free from influx. Nirasrav. Now, what is the perspective here? That the first quadruplet of passion has gone. So, it is said that the enlightened being is free from influx. Actually, only the first quadruplet has gone. Rest are there. But the bondage is so minuscule that it is not counted. Okay. In scriptures like Samsara, which are predominantly belief based. Okay. Belief based. If it is knowledge based, then they will say, yeah, such and such bondage is happening. Okay. Now, the next paragraph, explaining how an enlightened being remains free from influx. The Acharya states that the 4 types of material influx, which is wrong belief, non-restraint, passions, and activities of mind, speech, and body. Okay. That the four types of material influx binds various kind of karma through the attributes of knowledge and perception. Now, the attribute of knowledge and perception are never a cause of bondage, because that is the nature of the soul, right? To know and see. If that would have been the cause of bondage, then how the soul will get liberated? So here you have to again understand, the footnote is missing here, but it is in there in the Hindi. Hence, an enlightened being is free from bondage. Okay. So here again you have to mean that the main cause of bondage is the delusion and passions. Okay. But it is being said here through the attributes of knowledge and perception. So that does not mean that the knowledge and perception in the path of liberation. Here only it means that it's explained in the next paragraph. Let's read it out. How do the modification of the attribute of knowledge becomes a cause of bondage? Explaining this, the Acharya states that as long as the soul's attribute of knowledge remains in its underdeveloped state, Jaganya Avastha. Now, what is this underdeveloped state? It is also called minimal state. Okay. So, from stages of spiritual development, from 1 to 11 is called this underdeveloped state. Okay. So, from spiritual stage of development from 1st to 11 is called underdeveloped state. And 12, there is no passions remaining. So then it is called a developed state. Okay. Till then, it keeps shifting from pure serene experience, nirvikalpta, to conscious thoughts, savikalpta, within every 48 minutes. Okay. Because if he stays in pure serene experience for 48 minutes, he manifests omniscience knowledge. Okay. So they keep on oscillating between the pure serene experience and the conscious thoughts, nirvikalp to savikalp, savikalp to nirvikalp, within every 48 minutes. Hence, during this time of conscious thoughts, it also becomes the doer of new karmic bondage. Okay. The language is not proper. How does it become a doer? Okay. So hence during this time means during the time of savikalp. So nirvikalp is 7th stage, savikalp is 6th stage. Okay. So in the 6th stage, and during this time of conscious thought, it also becomes the doer of new karmic bondage. Okay. So when they are in the 6th stage, of course, the new karmic bondage is happening. Okay. In the 7th stage, it is a stage of pure introspective meditation. Okay. Shuddhopyog. And here at the 6th stage, it is Shubhopyog. So when there is a Shubhopyog, there is of course a new karmic bondage happening. Okay. But it does not become the doer, but it means that new karmic bondage is happening. That is why while transforming within underdeveloped states of perception, knowledge. So here, perception would be belief. When it is with knowledge and conduct, it is always belief. Okay. And when it is only knowledge and perception, then it is darshan. Then darshan means perception. So when 3 gems are there, you can cut down the perception and write belief. That is why while transforming within the underdeveloped states of perception, knowledge, conduct, and enlightened being also binds with material karma. Okay. So from 1st to 11th stage, these are the underdeveloped state. So in those times, there is a mixed kinds of sentiments going on. Some part there is a stoppage on dissociation, and some part the karmic bondage is there. but the bondage is so minuscule that it is generally not considered as bondage. Okay. When the minimal state of the attribute of knowledge is the cause of bondage, then how is the enlightened one free from influx? Clarifying this, the Acharya states that all previously bound karma of the right believer exist in a state of potentiality. So it is still there in existence, okay? They, through the engagement of active consciousness, bind new karmas due to attachment and other passions, okay? They, through the engagement of active consciousness, okay? So when the active consciousness does not take shelter of the pure soul, and they get engaged in other materials, external materials, then they bind new karmas due to attachment and other passions. These result in the bondage of 7 types of karma, excluding lifespan determining karma. Because lifespan determining karma are not binding always, it binds only on a specific time. Okay. Supposing your age is 81 years. So when you have passed 2/3, then there is a chance of new bondage of lifespan determining karma. If that does not happen, then say 2/3 means at 54 years. So at 54 years, if the bondage doesn't happen, then in the remaining 27 years, you have to again divide it. Again 2/3 will go away. So 18 will go away. So 54 plus 18. 72 has gone, right? Out of 81, 72 has gone, 9 has come. There will be another chance for lifespan determining karma. And in this way, you go on doing 8 times and then still doesn't happen. Then the last 48 minutes, within the last 48 minutes, new lifespan determining karma is bound. Okay. So most of the time it is the 7 types of karma that are binding, excluding the lifespan determining karma, Ayu karma. However, including lifespan karma, all 8 karmas in a latent, non-experiential state, okay, just as a young girl child is not an object of enjoyment for a man, but becomes so upon reaching maturity, say maybe 18 years, 20 years, something like that, and binds him according to his attachment. Okay. So here they want to say that there could be a rise of karma, but it is not necessary that you have to bound. Just in the case of this young girl, okay, who is not an object of enjoyment when he was a child, when she was a child. But now since she has grown up, now young girl is not an object of enjoyment for a man, but becomes an object of enjoyment when he gets the maturity age, okay, and binds him according to his attachment. Bind him according to his attachment. That means the bondage is not dependent on the karma, rise of karma. The bondage is dependent according to your present delusion, attachment, etc., etc. Similarly, previously accumulated karmas upon becoming ready for fruition act as cause of bondage in accordance with the passions of the soul. Okay. So, one thing is very clear, that if there is a rise of karma, okay, you have option to manifest passion or not manifest passion. If you put in the signs of discrimination over there, if you practice discriminative knowledge at that point of time, you will not manifest psychic karma. Okay. Bhav karma will not happen. And when bhav karma doesn't happen, new bondage does not happen. Okay. So this has to be taken in this sense only. The next paragraph. Yeah. So 3 paragraphs are left over. Subhaji, you read it.
In the absence of influxal disposition, previously bound karma are not considered cause of bondage. Since attachment, aversion, and delusion as influxal dispositions do not exist in a right believer, the material disposition of a right believer do not cause karmic bondage. For this reason, the enlightened one is called non-bonded. However, when the enlightened one deviates from the pure viewpoint, then the previously bound material karma, upon becoming instrumental cause in the emergence of attachment and other passions in the soul, lead to the bondage of new karmas. In this manner, we see that in this section, Acharya has identified cyclic influx as a primary cause of bondage. In their presence, the ignorant being becomes bound. However, in their absence, even though material influx is present, the enlightened being does not accumulate new karmic bondage and is therefore called non-bonded.
So how this statement of non-bonded, okay? In the previous paragraph also, that was mentioned, that material disposition of a right believer do not cause karmic bondage. Okay. For this reason, the enlightened one is called non-bonded, abandhak. So, supposing the enlightened one is in the fourth stage. So, my question is, here it is written non-bonded. How is that possible? So, again, you have to take that perspective that Anantanubandhi Kashaya has gone, so it is called non-bonded. Because when the Anantanubandhi passions has gone, whatever passions remains are very minuscule and that they are not considered. And that's why the enlightened one is called non-bonded. So enlightened one maybe start from fourth stage. So if the from fourth stage itself, if the soul becomes non-bonded, then what it will become when it reaches the 13th stage? And why is required to reach the 13th stage when I'm not binding the karmas? So it is not so. You have to understand that when they say that enlightened one is called non-bonded, that means Anantanubandhi Kashaya is not there. So he is not binding karmas of that level. But the other three passions are there and the little bit of bondage is also there, but it has been ignored from the perspective of a belief. Okay. Shraddha apeksha, drashti apeksha. Drashti apeksha jnani nirasrav hai. Okay. Jnani means enlightened one does not bound new karmas, is non-bonded. All these statements you have to understand in the right perspective. That delusion has gone. So along with delusion, Anantanubandhi Kashaya has gone. And Anantanubandhi Kashaya has gone. So whatever passions are left, it is binding very, very few karmas, minimal karmas. Okay. And that's why it is called that enlightened one is non-bonded. Okay. However, when the enlightened one deviates from the pure viewpoint, okay, then the previously bound material karma, upon becoming instrumental cause in the emergence of attachments and other passions in the soul, lead to the bondage of new karma. Okay. So, this is a summary. So, they are not explaining in detail, but we know that when it says that the enlightened one is called non-bonded, okay. So, that only consideration is that Anantanubandhi Kashai has gone. So, he is not binding karmas of that level. And whatever is binding is very minuscule in compared to what he was earlier bounding. So, it has been ignored and said that enlightened one does not bind new karmas. Okay. In this manner, we see that in this section, Acharya has identified psychic influx. Now, the psychic influx would be in the form of delusion, then non-restraint, then passions, and then activities of mind, speech, and body. Psychic influence as the primary cause of bondage. In their presence, the ignorant being becomes bound. However, in their absence, even though material influx is present, the enlightened being does not accumulate new karmic bondage. Okay? And is therefore called non-bonded. So the perspective of calling non-bonded you have understood. Understood, everyone? Why the enlightened one is being called non-bonded?
Yes, T.
Tell me, what is the reason?
Because he has destroyed delusion, no delusion is there.
Right,
Anantanubandha Kashaya is also destroyed.
right,
Therefore, the remaining all the three Kashayas, they don't create much
right. Bondage.
bondage.
So they are, so that is ignored, and it says that enlightened one is non-bonded. Okay. So this should be the. Then there is also one statement coming up that the enlightened one, even if he engages in sensual pleasure, he is dissociating karma. So that is not the case. Just because Anantanubandhi is not there, he is the enlightened one. So the rest of the passions are very minuscule, and the bondage is also very minuscule. So that has been ignored and said that Jnani ke bhog nirjara ke hetu. Okay. So enlightened one's sensual pleasure is also a cause of dissociation. So the sensual pleasure is not cause of dissociation. Sensual pleasure is a cause of bondage. But the bondage is so minuscule that it has been ignored, and to highlight the glorification of right belief, it is being said that the enlightened one does not bind karmas even if he is indulging in sensual pleasures. Okay. So that is the perspective. In this manner, we see that in this section, Acharya has identified psychic influx as the primary cause of bondage. In their presence, the ignorant being becomes bound. However, in their absence, even though material influx is present, the enlightened being does not accumulate new karmic bondage and is therefore called non-bonded. Okay. So this is the end of the chapter on influx. Now stoppage. So after influx, the bondage has to come. But in Samesar, the sequence is bit different. So after influx, stoppage is there. After stoppage, then nirjara would be there, dissociation would be there. And after dissociation, bondage will come. And after bondage, moksha will come, liberation. Okay, so slightly different kind of pattern in Samesar. Now we will read the stoppage element, okay? Stoppage of influx section. Jinali, you read.
I think her mic isn't working. She's put a message on the group chat.
Okay. So Rajeshri ji.
Sorry, sir. So I can read now.
Okay.
Stoppage of influx. This section explains that the realization of the pure soul is attained through discriminative knowledge, Bhed Vignan. When this realization occurs, the soul does not engage in wrong beliefs of or passions like attachment. As a result, the influx of new karmas is restrained. In reality, active consciousness exists in active consciousness, not in anger and the like. Similarly, anger exists in anger itself, not in active consciousness. In the same way, the 8 types of karmas and quasi karmas do not exist in active consciousness, nor does active consciousness exist in karma and quasi karmas. This is because active consciousness, being the modification of consciousness, Chaitanya, is of the nature of knowledge, where the psychic dispositions of passions, knowledge obscuring, and other material karmas, and causi karmas of the body, etc., are all modifications of matter and therefore inert.
What do you mean by inert?
They are not in action, sir.
Inert means they are jad, non-conscious,
Okay.
achetan. Okay, inert. Inert means jad.
Okay. Thus, due to their distinct space points, Pradesha Bhinnata, active consciousness and the passions are entirely different. Therefore, there is no mutual dependent relationship between them in the ultimate sense. Paramarthika. The realization of this distinction is known as discriminative knowledge. When the soul attains discriminative knowledge mentioned above, the soul with active consciousness does not engage in any dispositions other than active consciousness. After realizing its own pure nature through discriminative knowledge, the enlightened being, even when afflicted by karmas, does not forsake its inherent knowing nature and continuously experiences the pure soul. Therefore, such a being attains the realization of pure soul. However, an ignorant being lacking discriminative knowledge does not recognize the true nature of the soul and instead identifies attachment as the soul itself. Consequently, being attached, averse, and deluded, the ignorant being experiences the impure soul and attains the impure soul. Thus, it is established that the realization of the pure soul occurs only through discriminative knowledge with the attainment of the pure soul. The influx of attachment, aversion, and delusion ceases, preventing the bondage of new karmas.
Stop. So we'll see the first 3 paragraphs. So this is Samvar Adhikar. Samvar is the origination of the purity. Okay. When the Samvar element appears, that means the soul has taken shelter within himself. And when our active consciousness takes shelter of the soul, that is the time the stoppage element emerges. Okay. So this section explains that the realization of the pure soul is attained through discriminative knowledge, Ved Vigyan. Okay, discriminative knowledge. When this realization occurs, self-realization occurs, the soul does not engage in wrong belief and passions like attachment. Okay, so when you realize yourself, the wrong belief has gone, the delusion has gone, and along with the delusion, the Anantanubandhi Kashai has also gone. Okay. So it does not engage in wrong belief and passions like attachments, etc. As a result, the influx of new karmas is restrained. So you cut restraint is stopped. Okay. So with self-realization, delusion has gone. Along with delusion, Anantanubandhi Kashai has gone. And to the extent the Anantanubandhi Kashai has gone, to that extent, the passionlessness has manifested. And to the extent the passionlessness has manifested, there is no bondage of karma. So that is called stoppage element. Okay. So this is clear. Now, in this next paragraph, Acharya is teaching us how to discriminate between the two, the pure soul and the passions. Okay. So here they have taken the example of anger, but it is not only anger, but all kinds of passions. In reality, active consciousness exists in active consciousness. So there are one modification, in a particular modification, two partition. One is active consciousness, upyog. Okay. and the other is anger and the like. And the like means you can take all kinds of 25 passions. Okay. Anger, pride, deceit, greed. 4 into 4 levels. Anantanubandhi, Apratyakan, Pratyakan, Sanjalan. So 4 into 4, 16. And then we have 9 quasi passions. Okay. Like, dislike, rati, arati, shok, bhai. Shok means sorrow, grief. Bhai, fear, jugupsha, disgust. Then 3 kinds of sex passions. All these put together are 25 passions, and that is what they mean by not in anger and the like. So, and the like means and the other 24 passions. So, you are discriminating between 2 things. One is active consciousness, which is a part of the pure soul. Okay? No, no, to know, to know, to know. Every moment it is going on, going on, going on from time immemorial. For not a single moment, the soul has stopped knowing. Because the moment it stops, it becomes inert, jad. But soul doesn't become matter. Okay? So, this knowing attributes, to know, to know, to know, to know, every moment it's going on, going on, going on. And that is called active consciousness. So one modification, 2 partition, partition is active consciousness, other partition is passions, starting from anger to end, all the 25 passions. Similarly, anger exists in anger itself, not in active consciousness. Okay. So we are discriminating between 2. One is active consciousness, which is the representative of the pure soul, and the other is the passions, which has risen just because of karma being instrumental cause. Because anger does not arise by taking shelter in the soul. Anger only arises when we take shelter in external substances. Okay, then it is anger arises. In the same way, the 8 types of karmas, that is material karma and quasi karma, do not exist in active consciousness, nor does active consciousness exist in karmas and quasi karmas. So you see the discrimination between the 2. This is how the discrimination is done. This is because active consciousness, being the modification of consciousness, okay, Chaitanya, is of the nature of knowledge. So when we say active consciousness, upyog, 2 attributes are included in that. One is perception, the other is knowledge. Okay. But knowledge happens only after perception happens. And in perceptions, you are not able to realize what it is. You know that there is something. Only when the knowledge emerges, then you know that this is this. Okay. So primarily the characteristics of the soul is called active consciousness, and active consciousness here means knowledge, only knowledge. Okay. Although knowledge always precedes by perception. So perception is in a way included in that knowledge also. This is because active consciousness, being the modification of consciousness, is of the nature of knowledge, whereas the psychic disposition of passions, knowledge obscuring, and other material karmas, and kasi karmas of the body, etc., are all modifications of matter. So there could be discrimination between the 2. One is a conscious substance, other is a matter substance. Okay. And therefore, inert means non-living, jad. Thus, due to their distinct space points, pradesh bhinnata. Okay. So this has been said, this statement is being done for the purpose of practicing discriminative knowledge. Okay. Thus, due to their distinct space points, active consciousness and the passions are entirely different. Therefore, there is no mutually dependent relationship between them in the ultimate sense. Why there is no mutually dependent relationship? Because one is active consciousness, other is passions. So two entirely different substance. So there cannot be mutually dependent relationship between them. The realization of this distinction is known as discriminative knowledge. When the soul attains descriptive knowledge mentioned above, okay, the soul with active consciousness does not engage in any disposition other than active consciousness. Okay, so when this kind of discriminative knowledge is understood, okay, then the soul with active consciousness does not engage in any disposition other than active consciousness. After realizing its own pure nature through discriminative knowledge, the enlightened being, even when afflicted by karmas, does not forsake its inherent knowing nature and continuously experiences the pure soul. Very nice sentence. After realizing its own pure nature through discriminative knowledge. Okay. So when you practice discriminative knowledge and when you realize yourself, then you realize that my nature is pure. I am pure from eternal. Okay. After realizing its own pure nature through discriminative knowledge, the enlightened being, that means fourth stage and above, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, like that. The enlightened being, even when afflicted by karmas means there is a rise of karma, does not forsake its inherent knowing nature. So from knower, they don't become a doer. That's what it means. Okay. So even the enlightened being, even when afflicted by karmas, does not forsake its inherent nature, knowing nature, and continuously experiences the pure soul. Because he has learned the trick and he has tested the eternal bliss. So now time and again he wants to test that again and again. Therefore, such a being attains the realization of the pure soul. However, an ignorant being lacking discriminative knowledge. So ignorant one does not have this discriminative knowledge. Okay. Does not recognize the true nature of the soul. What is the true nature of the soul? Knowing nature, only to know and not do. Therefore, such a being attains the realization of a pure soul. However, an ignorant being lacking discriminative knowledge does not recognize the true nature of the soul and instead identifies attachment as the soul itself. Consequently, being attached, averse, and deluded, the ignorant being experiences the impure soul. Although the soul doesn't become impure at any point of time, but here it is being said impure soul, just seeing the delusion, attachment, and aversions. Okay. Consequently, being attached, averse, and deluded, the ignorant being experiences the impure soul and attains the impure soul. Okay. Thus, it is established that the realization of the pure soul occurs only through discriminative knowledge. With the attainment of the pure soul, the influx of attachment, aversions, and delusion ceases, preventing the bondage of new karmas. Again, you have to connect this with Anantanubandhi Kashai only. With the attainment of the pure soul, the influx of attachment, okay, aversion, and delusion ceases. So does it ceases totally? No, only the Anantanubandhi attachment, Anantanubandhi aversion is not there. Rest are there. But since this is a spiritual scripture like Sem7, where the belief attribute is highlighted time and again, all the statements are made from the primarily from the belief. Okay. And in that scenario, it says that the influx of attachment, aversion, and delusion ceases, preventing the bondage of new karma. So, whenever it says that the enlightened being doesn't bind new karmas, you have to understand that Anantanubandhi Kashai has gone. So it is being said like that. The rest of the passions are there, but the bondage is very little. So it has been ignored, and it's said that the enlightened being does not have any new bondage. It does not bind new karmas. So we keep up to here only today. Tomorrow we will continue from here and take it forward. Okay. Any questions for today? The language is a bit complicated because only the only the words of Kunkund Acharya has been taken, and that also sometimes the sentence are mixed up, so it appears a bit confusing, the language. So that's why I don't recommend like read this much, read that much. You make your own presentation. Okay, then you are at free will to present whatever you can. But when you follow a scripture, you have to explain according to the scripture. Okay. But you have to read it again and again. And if any doubts persist, you can always ask again. Okay. Okay. निज निधि निज में बताई, यह अनंत उपकार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना सत बार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना सत बार है. 9 times नमोकार मंत्र. बोलो द्वाद संगमयी जिनवाणी माता की जय. जय जिनेन्द्र.